Hey everybody, it's Val from Autistic Interpretations. I'm Jessica's mom, and this is another Q&A. In today's Q&A, I'm going to do a follow-up on my last Q&A, which was about Jessica getting fired from a work adjustment training program. So I had some people follow up with comments on that video wanting to know what would I have done differently, or what did I want them to do, and that kind of thing. I think this will answer. I'm just going to review what we did next. None of it's clear cut and simple. It's all complicated. That's the whole point of everything. It's just complex, and there is not one right answer or one right plan. So anyway, this is what we did. That was the summer, right at the end of the school year before Jessica turned 20. So when Jessica turned 20 and the school started back up that fall, Jessica's teacher, who wanted to accommodate her desire to be a caregiver and believed in her, set out to find a place where we could carve out a unique position for Jess somewhere. And what ended up happening was they went to a local nursing home and filled out an application to be a volunteer. And this was going to fall under the umbrella of community-based vocational instruction, which already happened for the classroom and Jess already participated in, but it wasn't specific to Jessica's needs or specific to what Jessica really wanted for her future. And you know, one of the things about Jess, and I always say I'm not an autism expert, I'm a Jess expert. One of the things with Jess was that in school and vocational training and all kinds of stuff like that, there's no real good carryover about this is kind of like that. If you can do this, then you can apply that in this situation. Jess always needed to be real life or real things, real items, not pretend items. So when Jess started her job at the nursing home, sometimes her teacher went with her, sometimes the parapros went with her. She always had supervision. They started off hands-on with her, teaching her, and over time gradually backed way off to where they were just observing, and eventually she didn't even know that they were there. First, Jessica pushed around an activity cart, and they would pass out books, magazines, music, and stuff like that. She would sometimes go and play bingo with the residents. Over time, she developed a relationship with somebody who worked there, who taught her how to help pass out ice and towels. Over time, Jess learned how to go in and interact, visit with patients, and she ended up having a caseload of 3 patients that she went to work with. Sometimes she talked to them, sometimes she would do lotion, massage their hands, sometimes she'd play music, but the director of the nursing home really liked what Jessica was doing and said that she was meeting the esteemed needs of the patient because she was helping the patients, and the patients knew they were helping her back by interacting and her being there to help them. So it was a very mutually beneficial thing that was happening there. So a couple things went on that you know, it all sounds great. And I'm sure people are thinking, well, that is great. Why isn't she still doing that? Why didn't that work out? So several things went on that second half of that year that interfered with the overall plan and progress. One of the problems that she had during that time frame was fatigue. She was going through some medication changes for seizure medication, and it left her very tired and fatigued, and she would struggle with that some days, being too sleepy or irritable, falling asleep on the bus and stuff like that, which led to moodiness. She was also having an issue with aggression, not at work, but sometimes her verbal threats about aggression, as well as acting out behaviors at school, kept her from being able to go to her job site during the day. And then she had a lot of ongoing anxiety about losing people, or worrying about losing people, or worrying about why isn't somewhere where they're supposed to be. One of the things that she worried about frequently was one of her friends at school who she was attached to, and this person frequently either moved out of town and back or just was absent a lot, and kind of kept Jessica torn up. This was one of those people that she was kind of fixated on. And then that same kind of thing happened in the nursing home where particularly one of the patients, if Jess was asked to step out of the room so they could change the patient, she would have major anxiety about it. And if they needed her to stay out, out of the room for a while, or they gave the patient a bath or something, she could get very agitated. She was very possessive. Once this patient had to be taken to somewhere, a doctor's appointment or something for medical care, and Jess had major struggles with that, and she heard about somebody's mother dying, and she was very upset about that. So there was a lot of ongoing anxiety, stress-related things. During this first few weeks of all this going on, when she got off the bus one day, after the bus picked her up here and took her to school, she knew she was going to have a parapro that day. Not a parapro, a substitute teacher that day. And so she was already having a lot of anxiety because her regular teacher wasn't going to be there. And when she got off the bus, she used her cane every day back then. And as she was coming down the stairs, the parapro that was standing at the bottom of the stairs, Jessica, reached down and hit with her cane. And then she was continually agitated that day, so she didn't get to go to work. And then there were other days that she'd been at work and she came back from work and she was very agitated and made verbal threats about pinching, biting. And she seldom followed through with that, but it was definitely something we had to listen to and pay attention to. So in Jessica's senior year, we were still working on this. It took a while to progress through all the things that I just mentioned. So the point at which she was being independent with everything, it took a long time. So by the end, or toward the end of Jessica's senior year, she was able to get on the bus. So she would walk out and get on the bus independently. The bus would take her to the nursing home. She could get off of the bus, go to the door, put in the code, walk through the door, and go to her patient's room. And we were all real encouraged that something could come of this and that she could end up having a job here. And it was a real motivation to keep working through all the stress and anxiety that went with everything. Jessica's time at the nursing home was limited by how much time the school or the classroom had set aside for this community-based vocational instruction. So she could only go in that window of time when the bus was available. So as we're working on a transition to Jessica graduating and actually having the job, one of the factors of, getting to the job is she had to have transportation because I would be at work some days, not every day. So we started working with public transportation in our county, and they would pick up Jessica sometimes at school and take her to her work and then pick her back up. And then eventually we worked on them picking her up at home, taking her to work, and then she would go from there back to school. So we were practicing all this in preparation for her graduation. A couple things happened that prevented this all from from coming through as an actual job. First of all, the facility had a hiring freeze, and they really did. I was aware of it. And the other thing was the ongoing anxiety. So when she didn't get a job at the nursing home, they offered her the ability to continue coming as a volunteer. And while she was still in high school, that worked out just fine. It gave her something meaningful to do on a regular basis. She had transportation. She had somebody to pick her up and take her back to school. And so she was supervised for the entire day, and that all worked out. When we had to transition to that happening from home, when she was no longer in school, we were dependent on the public transportation showing up on time to pick her up, and then to pick her up from from her job site and bring her back home. And it just is, funding is what funding is, and things are what you know, it's just, they could never give a specific time that they could get here to pick her up. There wasn't a 15-minute window or 20-minute window. It was a 2-hour window of what time they could come pick her up. And that's just, 2 hours is not doable for any of us. It's not doable for like an adult who has to leave to go to work. And it's not doable for Jess, who has to be ready at this time and might get picked up now, then. Extreme anxiety about that. And the other thing was, there was no specific plan on a daily basis. It depended on where the other people that rode the public transportation wanted to go. When Jessica would get picked back up. She might only be at work, you know, an hour, and then they'd be there to pick her back up. And it just wasn't enough of a real schedule. It was just too complicated once she graduated, and we didn't have the school as a resource. It was too complicated. And it mattered to Jessica that she did not have a paying job. She wanted a paying job, and that was motivation for her to work through the stress and anxiety. And once she found out that she wasn't going to get paid and it was a volunteer position, then her motivation for working through all the stress and anxiety and all the trouble with transportation and all that, it just wasn't worth it. And so she made the decision to not volunteer at the nursing home anymore. It was her decision completely. And so that was a major disappointment for all of us, not just Jessica, but, you know, I had been Jessica's whole school career planning on her having a job when she finished school. I mean, I busted my butt to try to get something to work out so that she was lined up with a job when she got out of school. And it never in a million years occurred to me that there would be nothing for her after graduation. I always thought there would be something. I always thought that there would be something she would be doing. There would be a job for her, a volunteer for her, something. I mean, a volunteer position. So it was extremely distressing. So I'm going to stop with this story now. I've got more to tell. I will do another video about what we did next, what we tried next. I think you'll be very surprised at what we tried next. Looking back on it, I'm really surprised that I tried it. But anyway, I'm sure there are questions. Please feel free to leave questions below. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks, everybody. Bye.